we spoke about this last week. We talked about Man City and Florian Wirtz, the possibility of them signing him. But there's been a story this week that they're potentially going to pay 150 million euros and give him a 25 million a year salary. Does that seem likely? It's an awful lot of money for the player.
Um, I think it's possible. Yeah, I mean, the impression I get is that they see Verts as that kind of headline um, headline signing to replace KDB, and they recognise that that's going to cost to do that deal is going to cost what it cost Arsenal for Rice, what it's cost, um, all of those kind of major, very, very major signings, and he's got a long contract at Leverkusen, so he's not. There's no possibility that he's going to be, in some kind of Real Madrid style free deal. So if they want him, that's the price, and I think in some ways City might quite like the fact that that is the price because it pretty much rules out Real Madrid from the situation, and it possibly also rules out Bayern Munich as well. And Bayern Munich, I think, would be the most natural place for him to go. We know Bayern do like to sign where they can the best player in Germany, and I think they would like to do the deal, but I think they're also trying to bring the wage bill down a little bit. And they have spent heavily in the last couple of years. So in some ways, I think it could be an advantage for City. But I do think, look, it might not be 150 euros, it could be 125 or something. But I would think it's a £100 million deal. And then salary, well, I think they're probably looking at the salary side of things and going, we are going to, now that De Bruyne is going, that will save somewhere in the order of £20 million, £25 million a year on wages. And if we can buy a player who's going to be the next headline player for the next 5 to 10 years, then that's what we'll do. So they can certainly afford it on a PSR basis. That said, obviously, Champions League is still in the balance, and that is going to make a big difference to the sides that miss out on the Champions League. Mitigated partly in City's case by the Club World Cup, but we're looking at 100 million quid. So we know how important it's going to be to all of the clubs that are in the running for it. And this season that means Newcastle, Forest, Chelsea, Villa, City, Spurs, and United all still in the balance for the Champions League. And for all of them, it makes a huge difference.
Absolutely. So James McAtee's been quite heavily linked with Leverkusen over the past few months. There's believed to have been talks held with Leverkusen about a possible transfer. Do you think he could potentially be included in any deal for Wirtz?
Yeah, I suspect that is part of their thinking. I mean, he did play on Saturday for the first time. I think it was his first start of the season actually, and scored against Palace. But I suspect he hasn't got a long-term future at the club, and he fits into the sort of player that the German clubs like to take, develop, and then try and move back to England after they've added 50, 100% on top to bring them back. And it looks to me like he fits within that category.
Absolutely. And there's been a story about AC Milan and Kyle Walker. Obviously, he went on loan there in January. There is an option to buy on that. But they're believed to be having second thoughts about a potential deal just after he's picked up an injury. Would that be a bit of a blow for City given his wages if he was to come back this summer?
I think one of the stories that I heard was that he'd agreed to um, effectively reduce his salary if he came back. Um, so City might be thinking it makes no difference either way, and that they will still find a home for him next season. But they'll definitely be able to find a club that will take Kyle Walker. The only question will be in respect to the wages. He's currently on, let's say, 250 a week headline. Now, if he's taken a pay cut to facilitate that move to Milan, and has said that he will take a pay cut in that final year of his salary, or will move somewhere else for a cut in salary, then I'm sure that they can move him on. Um, it may be ultimately that City's big loss ends up only being €5 million, say, that they would get if he went to AC Milan. Um, I think either way, it's not going to move the dial very materially, and I think it'd be very, very surprising if he was still at City next season.